Hello and welcome to Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. We're broadcasting out of WLBE, my 790 AM out of Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching us on television, you're doing so on Lake Sumter TV, Comcast Channel 13, Spectrum 498, and CenturyLink Channel 83. So today we're going to be making waves by talking to the City Manager of Clermont, Mr. Darren Gray, and find out a little bit about what's going on in Clermont, what we can expect, some of their projects, and find out a little bit about his role. So, Darren, thank you very much for coming onto the show.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. All right. So, what does a city manager do for a city? Because everyone knows we have them.
Right.
But what do you do?
So I always relate to a city manager as being a CEO of a company. And so my job as the city manager of Clermont is that I manage the day-to-day responsibilities of all of the operations of the city. Clermont's a full-service city, so what that means is we have a fire department, police department, we have a utility system, which is a water, wastewater, sanitation, garbage pickup, parks and recreation, those type of things. So we run a whole host of, businesses within the cities to ensure that our residents are taken care of from a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Right.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Each department, I guess, would be considered a whole separate business entity.
Correct. And so actually throughout the country there are two types of, or you could say, form of governments, and some folks don't understand that. Some people will say, doesn't the mayor run the show? Why do we need you?
That's what exactly.
Right.
What
exactly
yeah.
right.
What
So
does the mayor do? Pop, lollipops?
Exactly. So there is one type of government or form of government. It's called a strong mayor form of government, and you usually find those in big cities or big counties. So, for instance, the city of Orlando has a strong mayor. The Orange County, our neighbor, to the east, is a strong mayor, and so the mayor actually does run the day-to-day operations of the city and sits on their commission or council to set policy with other commissioners or council members. Okay. The other form of government, which is pretty prevalent around the country, is what the city of Clermont and most all of the cities here in Lake County have, and including the county government, which is called a council-manager form of government, where the city council or the county commission, in this instance here, sits as policymakers only, and then they hire someone like me, a professional, to run the day-to-day operations of the city.
Oh, okay. Because we still have our mayors.
Correct. So our mayors, they do a lot of ceremonial type of things, but they also sit, they run the meetings or even the chairman of the Lake County Commission, or the mayors of the cities, they'll run their meetings. They do a lot of ceremonial things, but they also set policy as well for that jurisdiction.
Okay. So what was it that made you decide this is what I want to do? This is the type of public service that I want to be a part of.
So this is interesting because you never know where you're going to be, right? So when I graduated from high school, I knew I really probably wasn't ready to go right into college, even though I definitely needed to. Just probably wasn't the right time for me. So I joined the U.S. Navy. So saw the world, had a lot of experiences, and actually enjoyed it so much. I received my associate's degree while I was in the Navy. I was in for 5 years. I grew up in Osceola County here in Central Florida. Came back to Orlando to attend UCF, University of Central Florida, as a junior, and my intent was to go back in the Navy as an officer. That's why I loved it so much.
Right, okay.
I found this program at UCF, this school called Public Administration. Didn't know really too much about it. I fell in love with it. I knew I was going to do some sort of public service. I thought it was going to be, the military for my career.
The Navy, sure.
So I ended up doing an internship my senior year at UCF with Orange County government in their budget office, and from there they hired me, and I've been in local government for about close to 20 years now.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So you found your niche.
Yes, it is. It's very rewarding. I always say if you really want to be involved in your community, really get involved with your local government and really talk to them and tell them what you want your community to be. So it's very exciting not only to work with other commissioners or council members, elected officials, but actually working day to day with the citizens of your community and really delivering services that they want and that they need and deserve is really rewarding.
As a citizen going, listen, this is what we need.
Right.
Can we get? No, that's an extremely important
Yeah.
role and function. So let's talk about some of this in Clermont.
Sure.
What's happening in Clermont? Because it seems like there's a lot going on, a lot of growth, quite frankly.
Yes, and actually, as you know, Clermont is the largest city in Lake County. We're about 36,000 population-wise. We are close proximity with Orlando, so it's just exactly where we're at is why our city has really exploded. A lot of development in the late 90s, early 2000s. So Clermont said it was setting on a path. They were like 7,000 people, let's say 15 years ago, and now we've rocketed up to 36,000, and again, the largest city in the county. So
Is that right?
Right. So I served as the assistant city manager from 2004 to 2010, and then I was asked to come up to Lake County, and I served as the county manager for a couple years. Clermont was going through a transition and asked if I would be interested in coming back and serving as their city manager. So it was a great compliment. I joined them back in 2012 and have been the city manager for the last 5 years. When I got there, we spent years working on our infrastructure, our roads, our water pipes, our systems, just to ensure that our residents got the services, again, that they deserve. It was time for us to upgrade. We all went through that downtime in the recession. It was time for us to upgrade not only our equipment, but our buildings. We were growing at a rapidly rate, just not population-wise, but service-wise, our employees. So we needed a new fire station. In fact, we just opened the first joint fire station with Lake County and the city of Clermont in the county. It's very, very successful. Citizens really, in my opinion, don't really care about what it says on the side of the truck. They just hope that the truck shows up and they call 911, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I really commend our firefighters, both on the county and the city side, to really working together so we don't have to spend money for two buildings, and that we actually spend money on one building, save the taxpayers' dollars, and operate out of that out of that facility. So that was a fire station. We just completed a new police station. It had been outgrown for years, and so we just completed that a year ago. So we have that up and running. And then out of the blue, when I actually came to the city of Clermont, and really want to talk to you about our visioning and where we come forward, but the citizens of our community really wanted something that they could go to for senior programs, recreation activities, a rental space. There was not a public space in all of Lake County that could hold up to 1,000 people. So we were.
Now, when you say public space, are we talking like park, a venue type of that, or
an enclosed event that you could have? We have a few private facilities around Lake County that you can hold events at, but indoor events. But a public facility we really did not have. And so when I first got to the city of Clermont, it was interesting that they had a church, a non-denominational church that was actually getting ready to sell their facility, or asked the city if they would be interested if maybe the city could use that as an asset for the community. And I went over to look at it, and it was pretty amazing. It has a main area that can hold up to 1,000 people with a stage, which we actually have performing arts shows going on there. It has a swimming pool, has a gymnasium.
Really?
It has a black box theater. So not only does it serve the city of Clermont, but we see a lot of outside folks coming out into Clermont that actually are utilizing the facility as well. So that was a big win for the city as well, to be able to get that at a price that what we call pennies on the dollar with if we had to build it ourselves.
Right. And that's pretty surprising.
Yes.
But again, with the population boom,
Yes.
like in 15 years, that's
Right.
That's not a long time. And now, if you're looking at, waiting to pay off your house or something along those lines, but I'm sure there's people out there going, well, government officials spending money. Do we really need another police station? Well, this isn't Mayberry anymore.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. So also, when I first came to Clermont, I went back out and reintroduced myself out to the community. As I said, I was there as the assistant city manager for 7 years, so I knew a lot of the stakeholders, and I knew in the community, I knew a lot of the businesses. And as I was going around and speaking at civic organizations or neighborhood groups or anyone that wanted me to come and talk to them, they all asked me similar questions about where is the city going in the future. And so the first couple meetings, I would straighten up my tie. Don't wear a tie too much anymore, because
Right.
I'm out of the field. Straighten up my tie, and I would tell them what my vision of the city was. And then it dawned on me once, and we figured it out quite relatively quickly. It's not about what I wanted for the city, and it's really not about what the city council wanted for the city. It's about what the residents wanted their city to be and where they wanted it to go.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. You're a public servant.
Correct.
Right.
And we have to check ourselves sometimes. A lot of us, I'm an individual just like a resident is, and I have ideas, and so folks in my position have to really check themselves a lot. I always say put our egos in check, because it is all about the residents and the citizens of the community.
All right. Well, we need to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll continue our conversation with Darren Gray, and we'll find out a little bit about the vision he has for the people for Clermont. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to Radio Waves. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and today we're talking with Clermont City Manager Darren Gray. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about him and some of the achievements that the city of Clermont has had, and it's just in the recent year, couple of years. And now we're going to talk about the future and the vision, the mission that Clermont has. Darren, again, welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate
All right.
it. Yeah, so when I came back as the city manager, the citizens, they wanted a plan for the future, where we were going to go. So when we definitely came to the fact that, it's not about, again, me or the city council, we knew we had to go out to the residents and get what their vision of the city was and where they wanted to go. So I say that we took what I call an unconventional vision process, and that we, as the city manager, the staff, the directors that I have, as well as the city council, we wanted to go out there and invite the residents in and talk to them. And when I say it's unconventional, a lot of cities or even counties, they will go out and hire a consultant. The consultant will come in. They will tell them who they are, what they are, and where they need to be. And I did not want to follow that process. And actually, this is another unconventional. I hired actually a coach, a business executive coach that's actually here in Lake County. Put a little plug in from the Corbin Group.
Sure.
Nancy Klutz, who was a former mayor of Tavares, and Rick Corbin have that company. And I talked to them, and they coached not only me, but actually our city council and our staff on how to get the most out of our residents about what they wanted for the community. So we invited them to these community forums. We had a series of 3 of them. Over 1,000 people showed up for these community forums.
Really?
The community was really hungry for where they were going to go in the future. So there was a lot of buzz out there. That was back in 2013, had a great success, and a lot of information was gathered over those 3 meetings. We immediately went in 2014, and we actually rebranded the city. We changed who the city actually was at that time, and we rebranded ourselves to what we call the Clermont Choice of Champions. And the reason that came into effect is that a lot of people know that there are a lot of athletes who come all over the world to train in Clermont, both professional and amateur. In fact, we had 20 Olympic athletes that went to the Rio Games recently, last year, and 12 of them medaled. And we have this little fun fact, and we say that if Clermont was a nation, we'd be in the top 10 of the medal count in the last Olympics. So
That's pretty amazing.
It is. And so when we rebranded ourselves to Clermont the Choice of Champion, the champion actually, a lot of people can identify with that. And you don't have to be an athlete. We really say that a champion is a heart and soul of the city. So you could be a student, a child in a spelling bee contest and win that. That's a champion. You could be a senior championing a cause. So we thought that everyone could actually identify with a champion. In fact, that came out of one of our visioning sessions that someone said, I know what Clermont needs to be. You need to be on a Wheaties box. You are champions. There's champions all over the city. So we rebranded ourselves to the Clermont Choice of Champions in 2014. And then after that, that's when I called a consultant in and gave them all the information that we've collected throughout the community on what they wanted their community to be, the residents, and we came up with a 10-year master plan. That was approved back in 2015, and then last year we started to design our first project.
Oh, so we're only like a year into
Exactly.
the new
Yes.
master plan?
The master plan, that was adopted. And the citizens really wanted their downtown back. They wanted the downtown to be the heart and soul again and the priority of the city. And so a lot of our master plan really centers around our downtown. Some people don't know that Clermont is on 2.5 miles of lakefront. Their downtown is in downtown Clermont. We're just 2 blocks away from our downtown, and there's some sort of imaginary wall that we can't get people off of the trail, the South Lake Trail, into our downtown. So it's very important for us to connect all the visitors, we run a lot of events down on our waterfront. We've been doing triathlons for 35 years down there.
Yes.
Other biking events, walking events. We have a boathouse that does rowing regattas, sailing regattas, and we're getting ready to host in a couple of weeks the World Championship Canoe Kayak World Championships here in Clermont. So
is that right?
All over the world, people are going to be coming to Clermont to go on championships. So before we could do anything with redeveloping or even developing our downtown to enhance it for our community, we had to be able to capture this stormwater. So our first project is a regional stormwater facility, but we did not want it to look like a stormwater pond. So we're actually putting some amenities in, boardwalks and observation tower. We're going we're going to have an event space where we can start and finish all of our events from downtown, and we're flipping all of those events to closer to downtown, so folks will have to come through our downtown to actually attend these events. And we just had the groundbreaking of that project last month. Very exciting. And then right next to it is another project that we're going to have is to get those folks into our downtown. We're spurring the trail into our downtown so folks have another alternative as they're walking, biking, rollerblading. They can actually come into our downtown on a safe trail and, patronize our businesses, our restaurants.
That seems like common sense
Exactly.
to me. Okay.
Exactly. So very, very exciting things that are happening in Clermont. We initially say that we call it the Project Victory Point, that regional stormwater facility that's going to look like a passive park and have an event area. It's going to be immediately like a $26 million value to our waterfront, which then will leverage, we think, over $200 million into our downtown. And so people don't understand when businesses come in and redevelop or develop, they have to do something with that stormwater, the rain that comes down. They have to be able to capture it somewhere. So one of the incentives that the city is doing of Clermont into our downtown is that we're taking care of that for our businesses. And so with this regional facility that we have, so they can maximize their property when they develop or redevelop their properties.
Wow.
So it's exciting.
Now, are you expecting any other kind of population boom? Is there plans for, okay, listen, we do this, because the more improvements you make, it just makes any town,
Right.
city, local area that more desirable, and you may find more and more people moving in.
Exactly. So we're about 36,000. We think we'll plateau around 45,000. We still have some undeveloped properties. And now that the economy is getting back on track, we see a lot of landowners wanting to develop or even redevelop some of their properties. So we are definitely doing some long-term planning. Our planning doesn't stop with our downtown, and our master plan definitely centers around our downtown. Again, we think it's the heart of the city, but we definitely want to connect other areas of our city to ensure that the residents, one, are getting served at the best that they possibly can, and that we do not, that development when it comes into our city just doesn't happen to us, that we actually plan with our developers. They know what the residents want. My experience with a lot of developers or businesses that want to come in, or even neighborhoods that want to come in, they want to bring a product that the community likes and that the community wants, and it can be an asset. And so we work hand in hand with businesses and developers as they come in with the city.
Okay, so as far as infrastructure, because that
Yes.
kind of sounds is there any big, because I know there was something going on, because you got the turnpike going right through Clermont.
Right.
And, as far as I know, that's a doorway into growth as long as the city maintains it.
Right. Right. So the city of Mineola just opened up the turnpike entrance right on the turnpike with the Turnpike Enterprise. That definitely our only avenue into Orlando, really, and a lot of people go into Orlando a lot every day, was Highway 50. And so what this new turnpike interchange does, some estimates have said about 30% of the traffic can be taken off of Highway 50, and they'll be able to get onto that beltway, if you will, and just north of the city in the city of Mineola. So, and one thing I forgot to mention I would like regarding our master plan is that some folks may or may not know also that the state has a huge initiative going on right now to build a trail, a running biking trail coast to coast. It's called the Coast to Coast Trail. And it is actually it's 60-70% complete now.
Are they that far?
Yeah, they believe it will be complete by 2020, around that time frame. So another 3 years. It's going to connect Titusville on the East Coast all the way to St. Petersburg on the West Coast. And what's very, very exciting about this is that Clermont is right in the middle of that trail.
So it will go through it? Now, will it,
yes, it will
connect with your okay.
Yeah, it will connect with our trail and existing trails throughout the state. So it's literally 101 miles to the East Coast and 101 miles to the West Coast. And Clermont's right in the middle. So we knew when we were going through this planning process that we were going to get a lot of residents, a lot of visitors, people from all over the world coming to bike on that trail, and they are going to want to stop at different locations. And we knew that they were going to be coming to Clermont. So we are developing a really nice piece in our master plan that's called Meet in the Middle. And it's going to be a very interactive place where people can come and gather and socialize and talk and take selfies and all other things that they love to do to stay connected in the social world. We wanted to ensure that they could have that experience in Clermont and really enjoy our community while they're here. So very exciting project as well.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yes.
It really does, because the trails, bike paths, spreading across the country. It's
Right.
becoming more, and thankfully, because they're great activities.
Exactly.
But I expect you'll probably have to beef up security as well.
Always.
Cameras, or I don't know which have is store for that.
Right.
But I think it's great that we're starting to get some more of these trail connectors.
It is.
For lack of a better term.
And it's very important, and just for communities, is that we capture the folks that come in and visit our communities through trails, through roads, we want to make Clermont a multimodal city. So whether you're on a bike, or you're on foot, you're on a boat, that you can come and enjoy our amenities. On Highway 50, our downtown is located just north of Highway 50. We have over 50,000 cars a day that pass by our entrance to our downtown, and they don't even know that there is a downtown. And so one of our also projects in our master plan that we just completed in April was a gateway project that actually invited people into our downtown to let those vehicles that were passing through, whether they stop now or later, they come back, that there is a downtown, a viable downtown in Clermont, and that we would definitely want you to explore. We want you to patronize our businesses and just enjoy the assets, the lakes and the hills that we have come to love and cherish here in our community.
Oh, heck yeah. Mm-hmm. And these lakeside towns, I absolutely love. Exactly. I really do.
Yes.
We've got several in Lake County.
Right.
And those tend to be, more supportive of local businesses.
Exactly.
And just more enjoyable.
Right.
The little shops and the little, but it never occurred to me that you have this town along the water, and yet no one knows.
It's a hidden jewel, we call it.
Yeah, you gotta get that information out there.
And again, being the city manager of the city, one of the things I definitely have to look at and I want to maintain is a low tax rate in our community. And so how we do that,
because you're talking a lot of
just
from what we've been discussing is a substantial amount of money.
And so we just don't want to spend money to spend money. It is a true public investment, and the whole piece of that, our master plan, is for that in private investment side. And we're seeing that already. Before we started our first project, which is Victory Point, right now we have like 12 businesses already reinvesting and coming into our downtown. We have a couple restaurants. We have a couple breweries that are coming in. We have a couple retail shops that are wanting to come in. So I believe that the business community and the private sector are actually seeing that, the city of Clermont is walking the walk. They're talking the talk. They are putting some public investment in for a long-term private investment opportunity.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure you have to work very closely with Lake County officials as well.
Yes.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for coming on our show today. That's all the time we have. If someone wants to get extra information, where can they go?
Go to our website, which is, of course, www.clermontfl.gov.
All right. Well, thanks again. And that's all the time we have for today. This has been Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.